I'm getting something. Let's make sure we have volume. We're good. All right, sorry about that, guys. We had some problems with some logins across computers, but fixed now, so we'll be good for future doing these. So these are what we call our process streams. Anytime I'm making something now, we're just going to throw some cameras on. I've got your chat up here on a big monitor so I can see what you guys are saying, what you're asking for. I've been doing other things. I haven't been paying too much attention. Chef is saying a guy could get drunk sipping while waiting. Hopefully you're still conscious and with us. A 20-ish minute wait. I mean, how much can you really drink in that time? Somebody let me know. I've got the air conditioner unit on in here. We usually don't have it on for live streams, podcasts, whatever, but it's hot in here. We have the heat on, so I want that. Let me know if it's interfering too much or if the audio sounds terrible, and we'll get going. But I'd prefer to leave it on. Okay, before we begin, we don't normally do giveaways on this. We're not doing a giveaway, but as you guys know, we're pretty close with backcountry hunters and anglers. Not only do we do a lot for them here with their Kansas chapter, we've had Kurt Ratzlaff on the podcast multiple times. Absolutely love that guy. But we're also national sponsors for them now. They do great work. It is a great organization, easy to support. So one of the things we're doing is we came up with a mat that is both Kansas BHA and Walton's logo. So we have BHA MAT. On any order over $20, you can get a free one of these. And it is stackable, so you can use one of your other coupons, and it will allow you to use multiple together. So make sure you don't miss out on this. These are awesome little things to have. I have a huge stack of them over there. Anytime I'm doing something, I always use these. I was going to chop up my bacon on this, but I figured that would be terrible to immediately destroy the first one we got, because we just got these in. They literally came in 20 minutes before we went live. They might not even be fully set up on the web right now. In fact, I think they're still saying they're out of stock, but we do have them. Definitely check one out. If you're ordering next time, I'll leave it good for a long time. So just make sure you use BHA, MAT, and get a free one of these. All right, so what are we doing? We're making jalapeno poppers, or jalapeno popper sausage. This is from Excalibur. It's a new seasoning, meaning that they've had it for a little bit. We just started carrying it, stocking it. Really excited for it. I think it's going to be really good. Now, as you can see, I've already ground all my meat. That's because we were doing a test earlier today on something that I'm fairly sure is going to come to production. It will be a while, but it is something you can use with your current Walton's grinder. I can't say too much more than that, other than it worked really well, and it really helped us speed up the grinding process. We've been working on it for about a year-ish. As soon as we kind of got, we're not done with the electric stuffer back there, but once we got that to a point where we knew it was going to happen, we started looking for something else to kind of play around with and help make processing easier, and we're on to something, and it is going to work. It's going to be a while till we have it. Okay, so I've got some beef cheek meat here. I wanted to grind some of the toughest meat I could find. Beef cheek meat has really super hard fat and some good like sinew to it, to the muscle. So we've got, we're gonna use 3 pounds of this. I've got 20 pounds of pork already here. This is pork that I ground through a 1/8 plate. We're gonna make a fresh bratwurst out of it. Now normally I would go either twice through a 3/8 or once through a 3/8, once through a 3/16 for a fresh style sausage. But on this, because of how we did it with the testing, went through a 1/8 plate. So it's just going to be a little bit finer than we would normally want for a jalapeno popper. John, have you seen, for a fresh sausage, have you seen anyone commenting about the noise of that? Has anyone said anything? No. Okay, cool. All right, so we're good to go. We are going to add mozzarella cheese. As you guys who follow me a lot or pay attention to a lot of what we do know, I'm usually a 2 pounds per 25-pound batch person. I want cheese to be an accent, not the main course with a sausage. But for a jalapeno popper, it is definitely part of what's expected. So we're going with 2.5 pounds. This is the seasoning from Excalibur. I don't know, John, can you switch to that camera? It gets a little bit up closer. It's got some nice little chunks of jalapeno in there. I played around with the idea of adding some extra jalapeno, but in the end I decided to just do this. Normally when we make a sausage for the first time, we don't add anything. No cheese, no additives, we just want to see what the sausage tastes like. But just like we did with the nacho, I can't imagine somebody making this without adding at least some type of cheese. So we're gonna go ahead and add cheese. We're also gonna add bacon. So I have par cooked some bacon. I mean, bacon's already par cooked kinda. So I threw this on the skillet back there, did it for about 3/4 the amount of time I normally would. I'm gonna chop that up with the Dow Strong Obliterator because any chance I get to use this thing, I am going to use it. It just makes me feel more like a man when I hold it. I mean, look at it. Don't I look intimidating? I've got my word cloud apron on and a huge hunk of sharp metal. It's a great feeling. So we're gonna chop this up, add it here, add 3 pounds of this. I'm gonna do all the mixing by hand. This is a meat lug that we cut the front off of so you can kind of see what's going on as I'm mixing it. This is a fresh bratwurst, so we're not going for protein extraction, so we wanna make sure that we're not mixing it too much. We wanna make sure that all the seasoning is properly dispersed, all the cheese is properly dispersed, and with a fresh bratwurst, I don't add any binder, no carrot fiber, no nothing like that. You're free to. The main advantage of adding something like carrot fiber to a bratwurst is generally 2 things. One, it will make it a little bit more juicy. With our proteins, we're not concerned with that. And 2, it does yield enhance. So you can expect to get somewhere around 3% more if you're using carrot fiber. It's a little less than that if you're adding Sure-Gel. I wouldn't add Sure-Gel to a fresh sausage. It's just really not necessary. So first thing we gotta do is we're gonna chop this up. Oh, that's such a good sound. I mean, that sounds like a great drum beat. But now I'm realizing that I'm probably annoying people in the office next door to me. Ooh, that is an unexpected benefit of this. It is phenomenal for chopping. I don't think he's here, but everyone please take a moment to say a prayer for our friend, Dr. Payne, my brother Claude Tremblay. He's not really my brother. He's got some health things he's going through. Seems like he's gonna be okay, but any positive vibes always help out. Now the reason that I par cooked this is it won't be as big a deal because we're just gonna cook it either on the grill or on a stove or something like that. If you put it in totally raw, it has a tendency to make everything a little too soggy around it. If you fully cook it, then you've got crisp little things in there, which isn't exactly the best palate appeal. So par cooking them kind of gets us halfway in between. Makes it definitely a lot better. Okay, so sadly, the Dow Strong goes away. I don't get enough chances to use this thing. And we're just gonna add all of this directly to our main batch of pork. Get that out of the way. John, you can't see that anymore, right? That's out of the way?
I can see the corner.
Okay, let's just get it all the way. Good? Yep. Cool. All right. We've got the Walton 660-pound scale here. I have it set to the low setting. I haven't noticed a huge difference between the low setting and the high setting, to be honest. I think it's more if you're up around the multiple 100 pounds, because it does weigh up to 660 pounds. So I think its low setting is like up to 300 pounds. All right, so we got 23.1, we've got 4. Okay, so we are gonna add some beef cheek. I want to get up to 27.2. And that is a nice thing about this scale. Even though it's rated for up to 660 pounds, it is pretty good at lower weights. It's not perfect at lower weights. I would not recommend this scale if you're weighing out seasonings, ingredients, anything like that. It is not that type of scale. For that, get the Ascali Precision Scale. And then John, next time you get up and go somewhere, just toss that in the walk-in cooler. Doesn't need to be done right now, it's fine. All right, so we've got all of our seasonings all mixed. Nope, we have all of our meat all ready. We're gonna add the seasoning, then we're gonna mix it just a little bit, then we're gonna add the rest of the seasoning, the water, and the cheese. Now, I'm not a huge water in bratwurst or any type of fresh sausage guy, but because these are dehydrated jalapeno flakes, I want something to rehydrate them. Normally, we would say 5 parts water to dehydrated jalapeno flakes. But when I feel these, they don't feel like they're totally dehydrated to me. They do definitely, or they have been dehydrated in some way, you can feel that, but they don't feel as dry as if you bought like the 5-pound bag of jalapeno pepper flakes or whatever it is. Those are 5 parts to 1 part. This, we're just gonna add some water for that and to make stuffing and dispersion a little bit easier. So we're gonna add some of it. And I don't know that we've ever mixed a batch this size before in this frontless little thing, so we'll see how this goes. As you're mixing, you can often find little things that shouldn't have made it, but did. That's a little piece that I'm sure as I was cleaning out the grinder, I probably thought I threw in the garbage, but didn't. Actually threw it into the meat. So it's always good just to keep an eye out. One of the things that I've started doing the last couple of years is as I go, and this is way more important with cured sausage, I leave the bags up on the table. I no longer throw them in the garbage. That gives me an easy reference for whether or not I've added something. So I can look at seasoning, yes, this additive, yes, that additive, yes, sure cure, yes, that's the big one. Everything else can be kind of gotten around, but as long as you have the seasoning and the sure cure, you should be okay. You can get around or get by without adding encapsulated citric acid. You can get by without adding sure gel, but to a cured sausage, you need the seasoning and you absolutely need the sure cure. All right, add the rest.
Hey, there is a question.
Go ahead.
Scott,
oh yeah, I should be looking at this.
Ask why do you not want to mix to protein extraction for fresh sausage?
It's just it's an expectation thing. A bratwurst should have a chunkier appearance, should have more of a grain to the bite. When we're mixing things to protein extraction, we are getting a really even, fine texture. If you cut one of those in half, it's going to look fairly uniform. With a bratwurst, anything like that, we want to see a lot more particle definition. We also want that type of taste. Now, we've already ground this through a 1/8 plate, so proteins are going to start extracting a little more than we want to anyways, but hey, we had the meat, and I wanted to try this seasoning, so even though it's not exactly how we would do it, it'll work. And this is going to be a problem, trying to do it in this. But at least you guys can kind of see what's going on. When you're mixing in anything, if you start seeing large areas where there's obviously seasoning that's not mixing in the meat, there's a couple things you can do. Obviously, you can bring other meat over to that. You can push that towards meat, or the easiest thing to do, add some water. That water will help the meat and the seasoning get mixed in together. Somebody said curl my fingers. I missed that. There was something in there about curling my fingers. How's the ratcheting stuffer handle? So we now have an employee here whose job it is to work on things like that. He has run into very similar things to what I have. We can get people interested in the idea of it. We can't get people interested in making it. I will say we did some preliminary testing. There's a socket called a C5, I think it's C5, that will fit almost perfectly over that 6-spline hookup. But when we did it, we could not get enough forward pressure to maintain as we tried to go back. So we would pull it down, and then when we tried to ratchet it up, it would just come back with it because, you know, naturally that piston is trying to resist, so it's pushing back up as we're pushing down. So you couldn't spin it up quick enough to actually hear it go. It was just going up, down, up, down. Our hope was that we could just come up with something to live in between the handle and that 6-spline gear, but it doesn't look like that's going to work. So it's a more in-depth issue than that, which means we're going to eventually have to find some manufacturer who's willing to try it. And I don't know if it's the beef cheek that's in here, but man, you can really feel this is dense, very, very dense meat. There was a comment in there about curling my fingers. Can you find what that was? I just managed to see it out of the corner of my eye. And then, so we're gonna go ahead and finish mixing this. Then we're gonna stuff it. And then once we've done that, the first run of stuffing, we're gonna grab and we're just gonna cook in our little toaster oven in here. So it won't be exact. It won't be just like having it on a grill, but we can give you at least somewhat of a review on what the taste is like, because I've never had this before.
John Geringer said, curl your finger before we see your glove in the bacon.
Curl my finger before we see
your glove in the bacon. When you were chopping the...
Oh, gotcha.
Bacon. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, knife discipline's not really my strong suit, probably. I don't remember where we were talking about it. Oh, we got a chance to go up to the governor's hunt this year, up in Colby, Kansas. And I had never field dressed a pheasant before. So I had the guy who was guiding us. The first day, they just took all our pheasant and cleaned them for us, but I told them I wanted to learn how to do it. Super simple. I mean, I can't believe how easy it was. But we started making jokes about how I'm not allowed a sharp knife without a Hex Armor NXT glove underneath it. I mean, I'm losing my breath doing this. Just a login problem. We're all good. Everything's smooth. So Patrick just got here, for anyone who's wondering who we're talking to. All right. So John, yeah, that is the thought process with these. They won't be planned. They won't be on a schedule. It's just anytime we're making anything, whether it be jerky, summer sausage, snack sticks, blah, 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 blah. As long as we're not doing it specifically for a how-to video or some meatgistics video, we're just going to throw up a live stream on it. Now, that does kind of mean that we won't have great pre-warning for you. We won't be able to send out emails, do a bunch of social media stuff too long before, because we don't always know what we're doing when we walk in that day. With this meat being as sticky as it is, now we're not at protein extraction yet, so it's breaking apart no problem. It's not really pulling, but I am going to add some more water. That will also give me a chance to catch my breath. Ooh. Yes, 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 Andy, Mike, I realize that now. So, Will Pierce, when I'm doing fresh sausage, I very rarely use a mixer. The reason for that is twofold. One is, believe it or not, doing it by hand is the lazy option. because using your mixer, you then have to clean that mixer. When I'm done with this, all we have to clean is this. And mixers can be kind of a pain to clean, to be honest. The other option or other reason is when you're doing a fresh sausage, you don't want that protein extraction, and it's a lot easier to prevent getting protein extraction while still getting good coverage of all the seasoning and whatever else you're adding when you do it by hand. Meat mixers are great tools for making cured sausage. Absolutely not essential, but might as well be essential in my mind. But for fresh sausage, you really don't need them. All right, we have good mixture of everything. We are going to use our sausage stuffer. We'll get that loaded. I'm just going to rinse something off my hands real quick, warm them up because that meat is super cold. Oh. And if I'm being honest, what really held this up is I couldn't get the ribbon just right on the back of this. And, you know, appearance is everything. All right, so we are using the 11-pound sausage stuffer. Move all this stuff out of the way. So we do now have these available with these awesome little suction cup feet. The suction cup feet are great. They replace using a clip on the side most of the time. There will sometimes be times if you're doing like a really tough snack stick that it will still want to rock when you have these suction cup feet on, but for the most part, you don't need to use a clamp on the side anymore. Trying to do this without anything and one person is super hard because as we're turning this, it'll want to rock back and rock forward, rock back. These suction cup feet just hold it down. And we do now finally have these in stock. If you just search suction cup feet, they should show up. And while I have you here, we are doing our 13 Days of Christmas sale right now. We're on day 2 currently. So we've got the 660-pound scale, the 7-pound dual speed just went on sale today. The 7-pound single speed. We've got the Walton's Fresh Seal vacuum sealer, which I'm really happy people are starting to take advantage of because that is a great vacuum sealer at, you know, $89.99. At $69.99, it is an absolute steal. The locking handle on that really does wonders. And I did finally figure out what the moisture setting or moist setting on it does. It slows down the speed with which it's trying to suck in the air. So the slower it comes up, the less likely it is to bring liquid with it. So there's that. And then we also have the Mr. Barbecue Stone Cleaner. I have one of those in my house. It has finally started to get grooves in it, so it's a lot easier to use now. Initially, those are difficult to use. But once you break them in, it's a good thing. And then I've got the tubed hog casings in my sink over here. They've been soaking in hot water for around about an hour. When I stuff a canister, the way I do it is I try to create angles. Each level is at the opposite angle of the one before. This helps prevent or at least reduce air pockets. You're never really going to completely get rid of them. There's always going to be some air pockets, but that is what the air release valve. Oop! I think my computer just went dead. Yep. Are we still? We're still going? Okay, give me a second, guys. I was on Ron Boehm, who does the Hunting Dog podcast. He has a Patreon, and he does this thing on Thursday nights. So I joined them last week, and all of a sudden my computer just gave up about halfway through. It's like, no, I'm going to sleep now. So it's a lazy computer. Get it back in a second. There we go. All right. Is it back up there or is it not casting? It is not casting. Cast. Cast desktop and cast to Studio Kitchen TV. Okay. Back up. Get back on chat. Expand. It says it's loading. I guess I don't really need that. It was nice to be able to see chats coming in though. Isn't technology lovely? For those of you who aren't on Meatgistics, I had a post at lunch today. I had 2 enormous bald eagles in my side yard. Well, one of them was enormous. But my joke was, when you're too American for one bald eagle, Uncle Sam sends another. So these are tubed hog casings. These are the regular hog casings this size. I like the 28 to 30 millimeter. The tubed is a huge advantage because we don't have to rinse the inside. They've already been flushed. They come on this tube with this nice little thumb hole. Loading them is so much easier. So I'm just gonna take the side with the thumb hole, and thanks to Joe Hell for this, we're gonna put it on here and we're just gonna pull it and we're loaded. I mean, that is so much easier than how we used to do it. And I don't tie at the end. I just make sure I leave a lot of room, and that is for the most part fine. John, would you come up mind trying to like just jack with that until it starts showing again? Because it's bothering me. I also do not believe, nope, I did not oil my gasket, and that is not acceptable. So we got to get some white oil on there. White oil is the oil we use for lubricating basically everything. We do it with plates and knives. We do it with obviously any gasket. It's, yep, you're good. Okay, now try hitting restore chat. See that button? Restore chat. I hate, I'm like 20 pounds at least lighter than I look on here. Don't buy it. Now go back to chat, the chat screen. If you click those 3 buttons in the upper right hand corner, on the top of chat, it says top, yep, right there, pop out chat. And then expand that. Cool, thank you. All right, so I use the top gear to get my piston down to where the meat is. Once we've done that, we have to switch from the top gear. Top gear is for either backing out or getting back down only. You cannot stuff off of the top gear. Now, I've not used a crank stuffer in a while because I've been playing with that for the last 5 months or whatever. So we shall see how this goes. I very much sure it's just like riding a bike. Yep. I also have a tendency to just slightly understuff my natural tubed casings. Reason for that is you can always tighten up a sausage with just a few extra turns while you're linking them. Once you've blown out, we then have to stop and go back. That's a pain and we hate it. So just slightly understuffed casings are always preferable to overstuffed casings, in my mind at least. Now, as soon as we get to the bottom of this, we will stop and get one of those, or get a few of these into our toaster oven over here so that we can see what they actually taste like.
There's a question from Clayton Dewberry on Facebook. He asked, can you just rub some of the sausage fat on the gasket?
Yep, that'll work. Yeah, for sure. Now that might gum up a little bit more. If you were talking about plates and knives, I don't know that my answer would be quite so sure of yes. But for a gasket, yeah, that's fine. All right, we're gonna get our baker set to 325. Start. Cut. While that is going, we'll just go through and get this whole thing. Patrick, can you grab that white tray and bring it over here? But the tubed casings do cost a few more dollars per run, but in my mind, that's one point where it's absolutely worth it. Just makes everything so much easier. And while ease isn't always the most important thing, with something like that, I would say it is, because that's preparation we have to do. And I got myself turned around there. When I'm linking these sausage, I'm doing the most simple link possible, which is just twisting each one. So I make my link the size I want it, I bend it down over the next, I pinch down, and I twist in one direction. Then do the same thing, twist, and I go in the opposite direction. Now, there are other ways to do it. You can skip one. So I'm seeing how long it is here. I'm pinching down, skipping that one, pinching down to the next one, and then going. So I've now made 2 sausages with 1 turn. Same thing on this, and then going back. That one's significantly shorter than it should be. So then the next one is forward, and I've made, what, 8 sausages there with 4 turns? Something like that. Pinch, pinch. And by understuffing it, I also give myself the ability to easily pinch down without any worry of a blowout. And when I say understuffing, I mean it's a slight understuffing. I'm not doing anything crazy. On our next run, we'll see how I do at the butcher's. That's where you pull everything through and you end up with 3 sausages on a kind of a rope. I can do it. We're going to see if I can do it live. Because it's one thing to be able to do something for whatever reason. It's an entire another thing to do something with people watching. No idea what that's about. Isn't there some law of observation in physics? Things act differently when they're observed? I'm pretty sure.
No, but I can tell you that's a fact. I'm
pretty sure it is. Like,
I don't know anything about physics.
I swear I think it is.
It sounds right.
Well, I obviously know a lot about physics. I'm a rocket scientist. So the couple differences between using these and collagen casings. Collagen casings' advantage is that it's ready to go right out of the box. It has no preparation needed, and they're straight. A hog casing of any type is going to have a curve to it. So if you don't like curved sausages, they are not as great to use in a bun, in my opinion. So that's something to keep in mind. Also, a collagen sausage will not hold closed like that. It's gonna open up almost no matter what you do. Really nice feature of the natural casings is that when you cut it, it stays nice and closed like that. So everything's a trade-off with whether choosing whether choosing a natural or a collagen casing when you're making sausage. Do we have anything else? Lubrifilm is food contact safe, but it is a little bit more greasy. And I believe, the white oil is incredibly inexpensive. It is like a couple dollars for enough that will last you, depending on how often you do it. It should last you certainly the season, but most likely a few seasons. You only need a very, very small amount of it. But yeah, Lubrifilm is also technically food contact safe. All right, so we're gonna get a couple of these in the oven, and then John, I'll just have you keep an eye on these. We'll cook a few more also, so other people here can try them. One of the nice things about working here is if you work in customer service, sales, wherever, you need to know what this stuff tastes like so you can tell customers, so we go ahead and feed our employees pretty well. Another department that gets that benefit but doesn't talk to customers that much is shipping. The guys who are grabbing all your orders all day long, running around back there like, well, they're not running around like crazy. They have a really good system, but they're expending a lot of energy. So I always try to keep them fed. For anyone who doesn't know, Walton's generally, unless there's something weird with your order, like if something's on back order or I don't know what else would do it, but normally your order is packaged and down our line in 15 minutes. And that's whether you place it on the website or over the phone. Website communicates every few minutes, so it's not really any slower than doing it if you call in. But, I mean, if you do call in, we have wonderful customer service agents. That's where I started in this company, so. All right. But it will not allow add to the cart. Okay. John, can you go ask Rachel to look into why white oil is not being allowed to add to the cart? And when he gets back, I'll show you guys something. We've got our gasket. It's not bad. I wouldn't call it a blowout, but it is leaking a little bit of meat between the piston and the canister. It's not that, well, it's not that common or uncommon, but I am going to take the gasket off so you guys can see what that looks like. I mean, why not? And again, for anyone who joined us late, we have a coupon that we're going to leave good for probably a long time. So on your next order, use coupon code BHA, MAT, M-A-T, and you will get, I'll show you in a second, it's this new flexible cutting mat that has both Walton's and BHA, Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, logos on it. These things are really handy to have around the kitchen, the processing room, anything like that. Make things a lot easier. I was going to chop the bacon on it, but the obliterator would have obliterated that. So yes, what a good wordplay. She looking into it? No, just, oh, that's a good point. So, Jeremy, you have to choose a size. So that might be your issue, because we have it in the 1 or 4 ounce and a couple other sizes. I can't think of what it is right now. John, as soon as I'm done with this, I'm going to have you switch cameras because I want to show them an up close of what a semi blown out gasket looks like. Yeah, there was a little section there in the middle where I got a little too relaxed with holding that casing on because those are a little understuffed in the center. And then, if anyone's wondering, we will be, I mean, they're fresh sausage, so we are going to vacuum seal them, but because they're a fresh sausage, we're going to put them in our freezer for 15-ish minutes first. If you try to vacuum seal, just imagine this was a fuller one. When that vacuum comes back, or when the air pressure comes back in, it's going to push that meat right out the end of the casing. So freezing prevents that from happening. As you do the linking, you might notice some of your links will kind of come undone, like this one has. It doesn't really matter because the natural casing is going to suck right down to the meat anyways. Are we on that one? Okay. So it's just going to end up like that anyways. That, again, the advantage of natural casings. I used almost only collagen casings when I started doing all this, just because I didn't like all the extra work that natural casings forces. But then when we started using tubed casings, I switched almost the exact opposite. Any fresh sausage is pretty much always made with natural casings now. I enjoy the bite of them a lot more. What's up, man?
I was told I could pop in here.
Of course.
I need another one of rapid.
You need a what?
Rapid test.
Oh, they're in, you know where all the supplies are for the normal ones? They're in that drawer down there. Cool. How dare you? All right, so can they see me here with that one?
With this one, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So we've got a mini blowout. So what's happening is some of the meat is, instead of going down the casings like we want, it's getting pushed back up and it's making it around that piston gasket. It's not much, but it's still something we can just fix now and kind of show you. And we had to switch out casings anyways, so. So what happens is small little amount of meat gets pressed up and makes its way in between here and the actual metal of the gasket. And it's almost like, God, I can't think of a good comparison. I don't know. It's like once the first domino falls, once a little bit gets in there, it's going to make everything a lot more difficult. And with how hard this is to get off right now, I am kind of shocked that it happened, because usually that'll happen when you have a looser gasket, but this one is on there really, really good. So what we're going to do is just pull our gasket off. We're going to rinse this and this. Reapply some white oil. I don't want to put this down on anything that I haven't sanitized. Gaskets and white oil are the two things I always tell somebody to buy when they're buying a sausage stuffer. Buy an extra gasket or even two. They're super inexpensive. They're like $1.99, I think. Don't hold me to that. But if you break your only one of these, you're down. You can't make any more sausage until you get another one. So really inexpensive way to make sure that you're not down, that you're able to process as much as you want. We're just trying to make sure that entire inside ring is clean. Okay, we're good there. I'll just quickly hit these. "60 seconds on those while it sanitizes. Can you use white oil in place of sharpening oil on a meat slicer? They're both going to be mineral oils, so I would say yes, but I assume we're talking about with the meat or with the stones, the grinding stones. That might be a little bit more particular. So I would probably, God, I'm going to say no, just kind of CYA. They're very similar oils, though. Ben says, oh, I look at fancy pants. Haven't had to use your muscles. Say, hey, I was up at 4 o'clock lifting, so I've definitely used my muscles already today. What muscles I have left. So to put it on, there is a correct orientation for this. Can we switch back to that one, John? Okay. There is a correct orientation to this gasket. It seems a little backwards, honestly, even to me now, but there's a gap in the gasket, and you want that gap facing down. For the longest time, I was sure it was the opposite, but this is definitely the way it is supposed to go. Okay. More gloves. Putting on one of these gloves when your hands are wet already, oh my God. What size glove do you wear, John?
XL, but I could squeeze into large.
Oh. All right, cool. We've got it. I will go ahead, and since we already have this out, I'll just refill it, even though we weren't all the way to the bottom. So obviously, I mean, I've made no secret about the fact that my favorite size of the sausage stuffer is this one, the 11 pounds. The reason for that is that piston that I was just showing you has a smaller diameter, and that does make it a lot easier to crank. The 22 and the 30 or 26 and 33 pound, if you're doing a lot of large batches, is a little bit more convenient because you have to load less frequently. But I mean, how hard was that? It took a couple seconds to reload one. It's not that big a deal in my mind. Back at it. Another thing to keep an eye on as you're stuffing is occasionally this handle will unscrew as you're stuffing. So just keep an eye on it. It doesn't happen on all the handles. I've had this one for who knows how long now, a long time. So it does it on this. And I'm controlling the amount that this fills by holding the sausage casing just lightly with 2 fingers at the end of the tube. Now I can make it stuff more fully by holding it on more firmly, or I can make it less by hardly holding it on at all. You just need to find the right range for what you like. And once you get it, it's easy to just continue. It's easy to replicate. A lot of this stuff, once you've done it a few times, becomes very second nature.
They're commenting that Loctite will keep the threads keep the handle from coming off.
Yeah, definitely would. I'm trying to think for situations that I can't think of right now where you would need to remove that handle part. But what's that for? If it's on there Loctite, cleaning, some stuff may possibly get on the inside of that. But I mean, that's not all that likely, especially if it's sucked down there really, really tight. Loctite's great stuff. You just obviously have to use heat anytime you're wanting to get away with it or get away from it. Okay, so now we're gonna try the butchers. Just be patient. This might take a few while I remember. Down, pinch, and pinch, and spin. Oh, those are real small. Come up to the top, pinch down. I'm gonna do this with a smaller section because you have to pull the entire thing up and through that first knot we make. So I'm going to go here. Okay. So we'll make our first one a little bit bigger. Pinch it. Spin it. And we're going to bring our next one up, pinch it down right at that joinder. Try and pull them up through without doing what I just did there. And we'll go ahead and make our next one. Bring it down to the top of your last. Spin these a few times. Next one up to the top. Pinch down. Bring it up through. Down, get that. Spin them. And that just happened to work out well for the size. So really not that hard, but having said that, oh my goodness, I can't believe how easily I did that compared to how much I expected to mess that up. Let's see if we can do that with a little bit more. When we're starting in the middle, we don't have that handy little mount on the end to use, so the first one's going to be free hanging, but after that should be pretty easy. We are going to be doing a live stream on the Monday after 13 days of Christmas. So that will be Brett and myself. Got a blowout. That will be Brett and I, as Austin is out for some family time. So I'm sure some of you on Meatgistics know what that's about, but he probably won't be back until, I believe, the beginning of the year. He probably will be doing more on Meatgistics now when we're forcing him to be out of the office than he has been able to do in the past, but those are still not done, are they? They don't smell like they're done. You want to kick up the heat a little bit, maybe? Oh, maybe that happened, because I do feel like they should be done by now. The hardest thing of linking, to me at least, is remembering if I'm going backwards or forwards. When they are a little bit more firmly filled, like this section is, you need to do less twisting. So like right here where they are pretty plump, I'm just doing a single, maybe two twists. When they're looser, I do multiple twists until the sausage is about as firm as I want it. Forward. I have a feeling this is going to be a really good sausage seasoning. My only worry about it is, I don't know if you guys noticed or not, I know commercial customers noticed, jalapeno flakes became real difficult to get there for a while. And there were a couple of things that I think had a little bit less jalapeno in them than normal. Like I'd order something from this Mexican restaurant with jalapenos, and I was like, that really didn't have much jalapeno flavor to it. See, and then by doing that, we have a perfectly clean piston right now. Nothing came back up over the top. I would show you, but the downside to those feet is they work a little too well. they make it hard to move the stuffer even when you're wanting it to move, so. I could start with this, but there's really, I would just have to re-up halfway through, so we're just going to use a fresh run. When we're talking about any of these types of casings, the length of the casing is not going to be uniform. Some in your package will be longer and some will be shorter. It's just a natural product, and kind of that's what happens. I found myself looking here a lot for some reason, like between the two cameras. Can't quite explain why, but I have been. Oh, where are they? John, do you know where they are? I don't want to say, but you know what goes in there at the end.
Oh,
Here?
is that the one with the scales, or is that the one?
That's the one with the scale. Got him. Got him. So this, well, we'll show you when it's time to get to it.
You're using natural casings, correct?
These are natural casings. These are tubed hog 28 to 30 millimeter. I normally use that size because I like them better for a bun. I don't think I'm really planning on eating any of these in a bun, and I certainly don't have any buns with me today, but it's just kind of becomes habit. So I almost always grab those now. All right, so we are at the bottom of this. However, as all of you know, there's still a couple of sausage worth of product down in here. So this is Dr. Payne's thing that we have taken and used for our own. Now these are, there's some sort of physical therapy like egg. They're a soft rubber, really pliable. One of them is orange. We have ordered, I don't know how many sets of these, 100 or something, and I think we got 3% per set. They're all orange, and you come in here, you put them in the bottom of your stuffer, try and orientate them towards the front. And we keep stuff. All right, let's cut it so we can see how much more we get out of it. This could either be a great selling point for these or tragic. We'll see how it goes. So it gets you 1.5, 2-ish sausages, adding those to the bottom. Oh, not bad. All right, I'm gonna temp those. Got meat all over my arm, which means my huge dog is gonna go crazy when I get home. Yep, we're good, John.
There's a Facebook question. What size is the tube on the stuffer?
That is the 22 millimeter, 26 millimeter. Walton ships with a 12 millimeter, a 22 millimeter, a 26 millimeter, or 30 something millimeter. This is the second smallest one. So there's the 12 millimeter and then the whatever. This is that one. The larger diameter you can fit, the largest diameter you can fit your casing over is what I recommend you go with. It makes stuffing easier and it makes everything a lot faster. So, for whatever reason, I could not find a fork here earlier. Oh, okay, because they're over there. Well, all right, Let those cool down just a bit. Whew, hot, 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 hot. Is that where all cutlery is now?
That's right,
Okay,
but the
cool.
tip gets all mixed in with the...
Yep, yep. All right. Let it cool down. I have a sensitive little mouth. All right, my chat is gone, but I don't think I need it anymore anyways. We're at the end, and yeah, that is super good. That has everything you'd want out of a jalapeno sausage. I might recommend, if you really like jalapeno heat, I might recommend you add just about 1% of your product's weight in rehydrated jalapenos. So that is 5 parts water to 1 part dried or dehydrated jalapenos. So then when that's 6 ounces or whatever, make that 1% of whatever your product is if you want to kick up the jalapeno. It's got a good jalapeno flavor, to be honest, but there isn't quite enough heat, though there is some for sure.
Indy Mike wants to know if there's any gluten in the seasoning, outright not from cross-contamination.
Give me a second. No idea why I was about to wash my hands to reach in to the garbage. All right, so we've got salt, dehydrated jalapeno peppers, spices, sour cream powder, and that definitely comes through. So that's cream, culture, and lactic acid. Degerminated yellow cornmeal. So that might be... What did he ask? If what was in here?
Gluten.
I don't know if yellow cornmeal is gluten or not. I don't think it technically is. Parmesan cheese, powdered cellulose as an anti-caking agent, calcium propionate as a preservative, and natural fruit and spice extractives, dry vinegar, cultured non-fat milk solids, and citric acid. So it is an allergen with the milk, but you'd have to find out if degerminated yellow cornmeal is a problem for gluten. I don't know if it's not, or I don't know if it is or not, but this is absolutely a delicious, delicious sausage. So we will get some of these cooked up, get them out to the rest of the Walton's employees so everybody can enjoy some tasty goodness. Are there any other questions?
I haven't seen no.
Cool. Thanks, guys.